Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our webinar today on using Kleinschmidt EDI in the Tailwind TMS. My name is Brad Zaitzoff, and I am the Director of Marketing here at Tailwind, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Today, I'll also be joined by Tailwind's Director of Product Design and Delivery, Kyle Shaw, and Kleinschmidt's Director of Marketing, Phil Johnson. Now, for a bit of housekeeping, the webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to all registrants in the next day or so. For the duration of the webinar, all attendees will be muted, but if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send a message in the question box, and I'll be reviewing them in the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. Now, for those new to Tailwind, we're a transportation software company focused on helping small to mid-sized trucking companies, freight brokerages, and those businesses that do both. Since launching our true web-based TMS offering in late 2016, we've made over 300 enhancements and updates to it, making it stronger so it can help folks like all of you be more effective and resilient to punch above your weight when competing with the big players in the freight market. And with that, I'll turn things over to Phil to provide you some insight on who Kleischmidt is.
Thanks, Brad. If you're not yet familiar with Kleischmidt, I will be happy to fill you in on our American company with the slightly interesting German name. What we do is build custom EDI integration solutions that help companies to communicate, collaborate, and exchange business data with any trading partner imaginable. As a company, Kleinschmidt has been around in some way, shape, or form since the late 1890s, sometimes as a prototype lab, sometimes as a factory, but always as a technology company. Our founder, Edward Kleinschmidt, was a telecommunications technology pioneer, and the invention he helped to perfect, the teletype machine, was an important electronic communication device during World War II and the Korean War. During the 1970s, we began working very closely with the railroad industry in North America to create software to run railroad operations and track railcar locations. From that point onward, we pivoted entirely to electronic document exchange as we helped to pioneer its spread throughout the motor carrier industry and beyond. What we are now is a full-service EDI network and custom integration company, and what we do is help software companies like Tailwind integrate our EDI functionality into their applications and platforms so that carriers and businesses like you can easily meet the data requirements of your customers, gain new business, and focus on doing what you do best instead of maintaining in-house EDI software and platforms. Now that we've provided you with a little bit of background on us, we're going to run a quick poll for the audience. Brad?
Thanks a lot, Phil. So I'd like to find out from those of us joining us today, what brought you here? What is driving you to learn more about using Kleinschmidt EDI and the Tailwind TMS? Do you have customers that require you to be EDI compliant? Are you looking to improve business efficiency with EDI? Are you wanting to grow your business and target new markets? Or are you here for an intro into EDI to find out what it is and how it can help you? All right, getting some good votes in here. Let's see if we get a few more people in. I'll close the poll and show it here shortly. So let's give everyone, let's do a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, we still have a couple of stragglers. All right, looks like most have voted now. So looks like we do have a good assortment here. So there are some that are requiring EDI compliancy from their customers, and also quite a few that are just learning what EDI is. So yeah, we're gonna hopefully help you out with both of those elements today. Thanks a lot. I'll find those results.
And thank you, Brad. And now I'm going to talk to everybody about just what EDI is. Give me one moment. I will pull up some slides. So now that you want to learn more about EDI, we're going to talk about just what EDI actually is. EDI is short for Electronic Data Interchange, which in its simplest form means that rather than businesses exchanging paper-based documents like you may be used to, it's done via a standard electronic format instead. You may say, but email is electronic, and you would be correct, but even with email, it generally must still be handled by people rather than computers. Some of the benefits of EDI include reduced costs, increased processing speed, reduced data entry errors, improved relationships with their business partners, and more opportunities to gain new business through companies that mandate you utilize EDI to conduct electronic business. In motor transportation, we have a specific set of EDI documents that are typically exchanged between the shipper and carrier. There's quite a wide variety, but the main 4 documents are going to be the following. You have a 204, which is an electronic load tender. You have a 990, which is going to be your load tender acceptance or rejection. You have a 214, which will be your shipment status update or your shipment status message. And finally, you'll have a 210, which is your electronic freight invoice. Now that we've reviewed just what EDI is within the context of motor transportation, we're going to take a moment to compare the traditional shipment process to the EDI shipment process. In a traditional shipment process, typically done on paper or via fax or via email, a shipper sends a load tender via fax or email that must be manually entered into your dispatch system. This method is often no longer supported by many large shippers, and it lacks support for timely responses, shipment updates, or spot loads. Once the load is on the move, shipment status updates are going to be required by the shipper. This is done through check calls mostly, which are time consuming, and they don't often provide accurate location data, nor do they provide the support for GPS location data like latitude and longitude that's often required by many shippers in this day and age. After delivery, you must invoice the load via paper. It's an inefficient process. It's not supported by many large shippers in this day and age. And most importantly, it takes a long time to get paid because it's on paper. Comparatively, the EDI shipment process is a lot more streamlined. A shipper is going to issue you an EDI load tender via the 204 document, which populates automatically within your Tailwind TMS workflow. It's just one click to accept, reject, or update the load and generate a response, which is going to be the 990 document that is returned back to the shipper. This eliminates data entry on your end, it saves your people time, and it doesn't disrupt your existing processes. Within Tailwind, nothing is going to be markedly different than what you're currently doing. Once the load is on the move, the shipment status updates are going to be automatically generated from your TMS. This creates the 214 documents via EDI that are required by your shipper and are required to be sent at pickup, en route, and delivery, with some more documents required by other shippers. Once the load is on the move, these shipment statuses are directly generated from your TMS, and they all meet the shipment, the requirements that are going to be outlined by your shipper for this process. During the setup process and the onboarding, we'll make sure that we take into account what your specific customer is going to require when they require their data and how we're going to get it to them. In the EDI process, if a shipper requires it or a receiver requires it, we do allow the integration of the latitude, longitude data from your onboard or GPS devices to be populated within the EDI documents. Kyle's going to talk a little more about that, but it's something that we're capable of. So if you're required to do it by a shipper, have no fear, we can make it happen. Once that load is delivered, the freight invoice can be submitted to the shipper. Sometimes this is directly to the shipper. Sometimes this is to a third party like CAS or US Bank or any of the other payment processors. As opposed to the paper process, this can be submitted immediately upon delivery. So you can go into the system, it's an automated process, it minimizes data entry, it reduces errors, and it's required by most of the major shippers in this day and age. After this, it eliminates the processing time and helps you to get paid faster, which is going to be the most important thing in this situation.
Very, very true, Phil. So how would a Tailwind user get started?
Well, Brad, it's very simple to get started. One moment, let me make sure I'm on the right slide. Our onboarding process is really straightforward. So once you decide to use EDI within Tailwind, your Kleischmidt sales rep is going to walk you through the pricing and the process. What we'll do is work with you to gather the requirements of your customers, whether or not they require specific data from you or anything like that. If you decide EDI is indeed right for you, our transportation team is going to work hand in hand with you to gather the EDI requirements of your customer. We're going to walk you through the testing process. We're going to make sure that you meet the requirements of your partner, that you test within the proper windows, and that you end up in production with the correct data that they require. And you have no worries with regard to the technical aspects of it. We handle all the necessary development and programming work. Once we've completed the testing and development process and your partner gives a green light to move ahead, the EDI component of Tailwind is going to become active within your TMS interface, and you can start receiving and accepting EDI loads. We also provide complimentary 24/7, 365 customer support at no charge. And so you'll have a dedicated team with decades of transportation experience that you can rely on as you continue to add more trading partners and do new business through EDI. Brad, I hear you might have another poll for us.
Oh, you hear correctly. I'd like to ask our audience, how much experience do they have with EDI? Have you used it before? Do you use it now on occasion, or maybe a lot? Or have you never used it before? I'll give people a minute here to get their holes in. Interesting mix for sure here. Looks like most have now voted. We'll go through and share the results. So we have quite a few EDI newbies and some that have used it before, but not a lot that are currently using it. So I would say that you're all in the right spot right now, learning about how it works and how it works within Tailwind. So thank you very much there. And then I'll just grab presentership here back. And we'll turn things over to Kyle. You there, Kyle? You might still be muted.
I sure am. My apologies, guys. There we go. Technical difficulties. As I was saying, sorry. Thanks, Brad, for switching it over to me. I won't bore everyone with the setup and configuration details, but just jump straight into it for us here. Once we've configured the exchange of documents between the two systems, the first step will be to review any new tenders that have been received. In the top menu, you'll see that we have our EDI module. And if you see that you have a red circle beside it, this is to notify that you have a new unread tender available for you. Upon clicking into EDI, you'll see that it's broken up into two different sections, incoming and outgoing. By default, when you click into the EDI module, it will load the incoming list as these messages require action by a user. You'll notice that each of these records does have a color-coded status associated to it. First being not read. This simply means that it hasn't been read by a user of the TMS. Read, the message has been viewed by a user. Accepted, the terms of the tender have been accepted by a user. And then declined, so a user has actually gone in and declined that message. So to click into one of the load tenders, you'll see that you get the load information details. And from here is where you would have the ability to either accept that load, or if you're unable to move it, you'll have the option to decline it and provide the reason why, such as you might not have enough lead time for it, you might not have any equipment available, et cetera, et cetera. Continuing on here, as we, upon selecting either the accept or decline, the system will automatically generate that 990 message that'll go back to your trading partner to advise them of what you've decided. If we click into the outgoing tab, you'll see that it's shown here. And again, you'll be able to check the status to see whether or not it's been not sent, which basically means that it's been queued to be pulled into the Kleischmidt system. Sent means that it's been received by Kleischmidt. Accepted means that it was accepted by your trading partner. And then declined, which means that there was an issue with the data and it would need to be resent at some point. Often your trading partners will want to receive the shipment status updates from you. And with our Kleischmidt integration, this is built right into your normal dispatching workflow. There's no additional steps that are required by your dispatching team. And if anything, their jobs will actually be made easier. They won't have to provide any manual status updates over the phone or via email. It's all automatically triggered as they perform the updates. As your dispatch locations get updated, either manually by the dispatcher or through our driver app POD Complete, it would automatically generate that 214 message with the appropriate status update, i.e., for example, at the pickup, picked up, at delivery, delivered, so on and so forth. From here, there are a couple of different places you'll be able to see these outbound messages. The first being from that outbound EDI list that we talked about inside of the EDI module. And then the second place would be directly from within either the order or the dispatch from that accepted tender. If your trading partner has requested to receive their invoices via EDI, You'll simply need to go in and ensure that you've set their invoice transmit method to be now EDI 210. Once this has been done, as you go through and post any orders for that customer, a 210 message would then be automatically queued for Kleinschmidt to receive. And then from there, once they receive it, it gets transmitted over to your customer. Again, we've tried to make this as seamless as possible so that you don't have to do anything different than what you've already been doing. The difference simply is, rather than either emailing or printing an invoice, it's all done electronically. We do understand that sometimes invoices do need to be adjusted and resent. You'll always have this option from within inside of Tailwind, and you can basically queue one up for retransmission once you've made those desired changes by clicking the Send EDI 210 from within the order. And really, that's it. And with that, I'll turn things back over to Brad.
Right on. Thank you very much, Kyle. And Phil for your elements there. Thank you for the high-level overview on how to use Kleinschmidt EDI within Tailwind's TMS. As you can see here from this recap, it'll streamline the data entry process for those customers of yours that are using EDI, automatically provide status updates to your customers, freeing up your staff to work on more loads, allow you to be EDI compliant and open yourself up to new business opportunities that require EDI. Now, before we get into the questions, we have one last poll. Our Tailwind CEO always, or at least once said, never leave the scene of a meeting without some concrete next steps. So now that you have this information, what are your next steps? Would you like to set up a trial of the TMS? Or would you like a more in-depth tour of the TMS to learn how Tailwind could work in your business? Or maybe you'd like a custom consultation on how Tailwind with Kleinschmidt could help you. Just let us know and we will follow up with you after the webinar. Getting our votes are coming in. I'll give people a few more seconds here. And also, if there are questions, please be sending those through using the question function there. We got a few to get started with, but I think we should have time for more too. So keep on sending them. All right. I'll close the poll and get back into the actual question and answer part here. All right, let's start off with the first one, quite relevant. What is the cost of EDI? Kyle, do you want to start off with this one and then hand it to Phil as well? Oh, you're still muted, Kyle.
Sorry, it's that loud background noise. I just keep muting myself and keep forgetting to turn it back on. Oh, those joys of working from home. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as I was saying there, from the Tailwind perspective, the EDI module is available within our unlimited tier, which is at $199 per month on an annual contract. Or if you prefer to go on a month-to-month, it's at $235. Additionally, you will need to have an agreement with Kleinschmidt. And Phil, can you talk about that?
Absolutely, Kyle. So our pricing structure is very straightforward as well. Our contracts are on a month-to-month basis, and to get started, there is only a $500 development fee to kick things off. Once data is on the move and everything is tested, you pay only for what you send and receive on a monthly basis. You are not paying for anything on a subscription basis that you are not using. For a detailed cost breakdown over time, one of our sales reps will work with you to determine an accurate costing based on the typical number of loads that your company is doing on a monthly basis.
I think a follow-up question to that, and you might have touched on it there, is what is the average cost to set up a shipper with EDI? Thanks for that one, Jasmine.
The average cost to set up a shipper with EDI, that is included in that development cost. Typically, you're going to have one trading partner that requires you to implement EDI. That's going to be the shipper, and that is the cost, the development cost included in that process.
And question from Austin here: will the EDI integrate with logs?
We haven't often found a need to have that integrate with logs. Typically, a shipper that's requiring you to do EDI is not going to require you to provide any driver data or anything like that. If it is necessary, we can do custom development work and make it work regardless of what your shipper requires if you have the need for it in your system.
And so, Austin, sounds like it might be a good offline kind of conversation to have as well, to see what the requirements specifically are and how that will be done.
Absolutely.
We got Travis asking, how will this EDI work for a broker or 3PL?
It works very similarly. Kyle, I'm not sure what the mix of customers using Tailwind is at the moment, but we work extensively with brokers and 3PLs, and the process and the setup is very similar to the typical shipper-carrier relationship. So,
yeah, and from our side of things, I'd say there isn't going to be much of a difference between a carrier and or a broker or 3PL. The setup and everything is essentially going to be the same. The only difference that we would see on our end of things would be how the dispatches get created in terms of data flow between the two. You're still going to accept the load tender. You're still going to dispatch it out to one or the other, and then the status updates would be applied the same way. The only difference that you might have a little bit is where you get into providing some of the latitude and longitude coordinates through, because you might not have as much information if it's a brokered load versus a company truck or an owner operator. But other than that, I don't see there being any differences.
Someone's asking also, how do I get started? Kyle, you want to have that one first?
Yeah, for sure. So from our side, getting started is very easy. First, you would want to reach out to our CS team and or your sales rep to confirm that you're on our unlimited tier. And then once that has been confirmed, we'll perform the handoff with the implementation team over at Kleinschmidt, which they would then review the requirements and what docs you're going to be required to do all the coordination on that side of things to get up and running.
That also looks like a follow-up from Nick here on that one. What is the typical time frame to set up a customer? Maybe
I'll
Phil,
take that one,
how long does it take to implement? Yeah.
So in our experience, a typical trading partner implementation process is about 2 to 3 weeks. That is obviously going to vary based on your customer's requirements. Some customers have various testing windows. I know Amazon, for one, only allows you to test within certain periods, so they may mandate you to implement EDI, but they won't let you do it for a few weeks. It also depends on their readiness to implement. Sometimes a customer will require you to implement and then push it down the road and push it down the road. You're ready to go, they're not. And it also depends on the complexity of data that they'll require you to provide. For instance, if they are requiring the latitude, longitude data, that is going to take a little bit of extra testing and integration work on our part. But one of the plus sides of Kleinschmidt backing this Tailwind integration is the fact that we've been in this business for over 35 years at this point, and we've been working with many of the major shippers and 3PLs and brokerages for a very, very, very long time. So we've got great relationships with them, and luckily for us, they like us. And so it makes the process go a lot more smoothly. They are used to working with us and our carriers and our people. So 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes faster, sometimes longer.
Regarding that mention about the different shippers that are using Kleinschmidt there, Phil, somebody's asking, what are some of the shipping customers that use Kleinschmidt, and what new business could this potentially open up for me?
If you drive down the highway, on any given highway in North America, and you drive past the gigantic distribution centers that you see on the side of the road, and the large e-commerce companies that drop off little boxes at our house 7 days a week, we integrate with all of those companies, all of those shippers, and we work very closely with all of them. And we know how their processes work. We know what they require of their carrier customers. We know how to make that process as seamless as possible so that you can meet their mandates and you can meet their requirements, and you can continue to gain new lanes and new business and work more seamlessly with them and grow your business by being able to integrate with them.
Another question from Nick here. How easy is it if your shipper uses Kleinschmidt? I guess if the shipping company already uses you.
It's very easy. It actually does not make things it does not simplify things as much as you would think it does, because we are building every single integration from the ground up on a one-to-one basis. And so we give every new trading partner relationship the same level of care as we would if, one of the companies is already a customer on our end. So we're going to go through the same rigorous testing. We're going to make sure you're meeting the shipper requirements. You know, and that's one of the nice things about us is that regardless of whether or not somebody's already a customer of ours, we're going to make sure that you go through that same rigorous process that, you know, a new trading partner would or something like that. In short, it does make it easier.
Slightly, just a little bit.
Yes. Question from somebody that's on one of our legacy systems. Is Kleischmidt available on Tailwind desktop version? Kyle.
Yeah, so currently, no, it is not available on our desktop version. It is only in the online web-based system.
And someone's also asking about cross-border stuff. So from Mike here, CBSA and CBP require EDI, a lot of acronyms there. We are currently using a third party. Any chance that he may be integrated into Tailwind, i.e. creation of manifests?
So with that one there, we actually have an integration with Border Connect to transmit the load information data, the manifest information data across to both the CBSA and CBP. I'm not aware of it being an EDI requirement itself, as long as the actual data is getting across. And if you would like some more information about that, definitely reach out to us and we can provide you some contact information there. Phil, I'm not sure if you have any other further insight on the cross-border manifest stuff via EDI.
As a matter of fact, I do, Kyle, because my former boss is actually the one that invented that for the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol.
There you go.
So yeah, I don't believe that's something that's the EDI requirements such as 350s and 358s are integrated within Tailwind yet. It's certainly possible. I can talk to Kyle further about it, and if it's something that you require, then it's maybe something that we can explore down the line as a potential integration. Kleischmidt supports it, and we are one of the very few certified direct connects with the CBSA and CBP for EDI data. And so if that is a requirement of yours, I'm happy to hash it out with these fine Tailwind folks, and we can potentially see if it might be an option for you guys down the road.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Perfect.
Thank you very much for that question. We have Levon asking, is this EDI system for brokers or for carriers?
Both.
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 Works for either side.
Either or. We're not choosy between which one you are. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you, Levon. And let's see. Oh, Nick got another question. During the custom setup, client by client, is the actual cost to us set, or are there variables to that cost? I'm not too sure I completely understand. During the custom setup by client to client, is the actual cost to us set, or are there variables? So I guess, are there set costs to be setting up shippers for these folks, Phil?
That would be outlined in the contract that you signed with Kleischmidt. I believe the one that we currently implement for Tailwind customers, it is a $500 development charge per shipper or per customer. That is a one-time only fee, and the variables in the process will be based on how many loads you're doing per month with the shippers. And so once we have an estimate of how many loads you do per month, then we can determine an exact cost of what that's going to look like on an ongoing basis.
Gary's asking, do you have integrated CMS or accounting? So I'm assuming that that's with the Tailwind system there. Kyle, would you be able to touch on that?
So to clarify, just asking if we do have any integrated CMS systems and or
CMS or accounting. So I know obviously that we're integrated with QuickBooks and online and desktop.
Yep. Yeah. So we do have those on our accounting side of things. In terms of CMS, I'm assuming that's more like on a like the sales process side of things. Currently, we aren't integrated to any of the CRMs or anything like that that are out there, but we do have an open API that is available for people to consume and use if they want to build that integration out on their own. At some point, we might go down the road of doing it as well, but that option is available now for you.
Yeah, and does it, Tailwind also works as its own kind of CMS, does it not?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, we do have inside of our system a basic record keeping system for both your customers and or vendors, and to manage those relationships with notes and reminders and those sorts of things. Is it as extensive as, say, a Salesforce? No, definitely not. We don't want to reinvent that wheel. That is very complex, but it does give you the ability to keep track of the basic things that you would need to manage those relationships.
For sure. Another question from Nick here regarding the $500 fee there. So does the flat $500 cover the complete setup for all 4 types of data access points per client?
Yes, the $500 setup fee covers the 204, the 990, the 210, and the 214.
Awesome. All right, looks like our questions are wrapping up here. Got quite a few there, so thank you very much, everyone. And if additional ones do come to you, our contact information is on the slide here. You can visit our website, tailwindtms.com. Send an email over to info@tailwindtms.com, or give us a call, where we like to pick up the phone too. So I'd like to wrap up to say thank you for all your time today. And, again, do reach out if additional questions come up to you after the webinar. Have a great rest of your day and have a happy and safe Halloween.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody.